Project Hail Mary is exactly what our culture needs right now. It's not another reboot, sequel, movie based on a video game or story we've seen before. Granted, it is based on a book, but to my understanding, it's not based on a particularly popular book. So this is a new and unique story most people have never seen before. And after all, Jaws, Jurassic Park, and 2001: A Space Odyssey are also based on books. And what I really appreciate about the movie is that there was no social or political message it was trying to get across. Just solid Christian themes. Wait, yes, you heard me right. I don't think it's a Christian movie by any means. It's a modern sci-fi masterpiece. But I think the reason it hit our emotions so hard is because it actually has Christian themes. So today I want to explore those themes and explain why I think Project Hail Mary secretly teaches Christian beliefs. This video is partly inspired by the Geeky Stoics video on this movie, so be sure to go watch their video, like, comment, and subscribe to their channel. But in our video, we'll be discussing spoilers and more specific details on the movie. So if you don't want this movie spoiled, turn back now and go watch the Geeky Stoics video. In Project Hail Mary, when we're first introduced to the extraterrestrial character Rocky, his appearance is really off-putting. I know as Christians that we're not supposed to judge by appearance, but I knew absolutely nothing about this movie when I first watched it. So when Grace first met Rocky, I didn't know what to expect. I thought Rocky could easily kill him, but over the course of the movie, we start to learn that Rocky is a highly intelligent and advanced creature, despite being a totally different species. He even values many of the same things that we value. He has a loved one back on his home planet that he wants to return to. He's on a purpose-driven mission to save his own planet. He's capable of love and self-sacrifice, and we'll talk more about those things later in the video. But for now, I want to highlight the fact that despite being an alien from another planet, Rocky values deeply Christian values. It reminds me of what the Apostle Paul says in Romans about pagans. He references an Old Testament verse to make the point that God writes the law on everyone's heart, who show the work of the law written in their hearts, their conscience also bearing witness, and between themselves their thoughts accusing or else excusing them. Romans 2:15. The fact that God writes the law on our hearts is pretty obvious. All across the world, every culture and religion has a very basic understanding of right and wrong. We all know innately that certain things like murder or theft are wrong. The Apostle Paul is saying in Romans 2 that it's because God writes the law on our hearts. It doesn't matter what religion you are. We all have this innate understanding of basic morality. Even concepts like love, kindness, empathy, and sacrifice are all universally understood. That's what makes Rocky such an interesting character to me. He's not even from this planet. He's an alien, and yet he still has these things in common with us because he's an advanced, highly intelligent species. He's not like a squirrel or bird or something. So these Christian values that God writes on our hearts are truly universal values, not just globally shared amongst humans. Extraterrestrial life could hold these values. The possibility of extraterrestrial life existing on other planets is often controversial for Christians to even consider, but I'm going to challenge you on that. The concept of extraterrestrial life is not unbiblical. Extraterrestrial just means it's life that doesn't come from this world, and so we already know that angels are living creatures that don't come from this world. So angels are already extraterrestrial life, and we don't exactly know how many of them there are, how spread across the universe they could be, or where exactly they come from or go to. We don't even know how many different types of angels there could be, or what other kind of extraterrestrial creatures might be out there. Some of you may argue that angels are purely spiritual, but the Bible disproves this. Angels can come to Earth in physical bodies. If they didn't, then the fallen angels wouldn't have been able to mate with human women in Genesis 6, the angels couldn't have been attacked in Sodom and Gomorrah like they were, and the book of Hebrews says that we might encounter angels disguised as people without knowing. So angels are definitely a real example of physical extraterrestrial life, even if they could be spiritual sometimes. But if you're still struggling with the science fiction concept of extraterrestrial life living on other planets, consider reading C.S. Lewis's Space Trilogy. Throughout the series, the great Christian author explores the possibility of alien life on other planets and what that could look like from a Christian perspective. And I would also challenge you with this question. Do you have an anthropocentric model of the universe? Or do you have a Christocentric model of the universe? I think this is key to properly understanding the Bible. Many Christians unknowingly have an anthropocentric view of the universe, which means that they think humans are the most important central figures of God's story. One of the things I really like about the explorer and researcher Timothy Alberino is that he always challenges us to have a Christocentric model of the universe, meaning that Jesus Christ is the center of the universe. He's the most important key figure, so God can do whatever he wants, anywhere in the universe he wants to. It's all his creation. He's not bound to Earth or humanity alone. So who knows? Maybe there's alien creatures like Rocky out there somewhere. If you really like this movie or its novel, go ahead and read my wife's thoughts on it. We watched the movie together in theaters, and she read the book while I was writing this script, and she wrote an article about it for her blog. I think you'll like what she has to say, so please click the link in the description to check it out. One of the best conversations that happens in the movie is between the main character, Ryland Grace, and Eva Stratt. I believe they were discussing their plan to go to space, and she said that it was all God willing, as in, this plan is crazy risky, and it's a long shot, hence the name Project Hail Mary. So it's only going to work if it's a part of God's will. And I think it's no coincidence that Hail Mary is also the name of a prayer. But anyways, after Stratt said it, it prompted Grace to ask if she really believed in God. Her response was something like, well, what's a better alternative? I really like that response, because I seriously want to know the answer to that question. For those who don't believe in God, or those who think that belief in God is foolish, I'd like to know what your better alternative is. I've never heard of a better alternative. In a desperate situation like these characters are in, they might feel like God is just something that they have to hope for and have faith in. And sure, he is there for that. And there's nothing wrong with putting your hope and faith in God during desperate times. But God is actually real, and he's much bigger than your circumstances. He doesn't need your hope or faith in him, but he wants to have a relationship with you. And by putting your hope and faith in him, we can do great things. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Philippians 4:13. Even though the characters in this movie never profess faith in Christ, we see that by having faith and holding on to that hope and faith, they are able to accomplish great things. Ryland Grace is a man who has little hope and little faith at the start of the movie. The sun is literally dying, and they have no way to fix it. Don't even get me started on how the sun and its light are symbolic of the light of Christ fading in this world due to waning belief. I could do a whole section in this video just on that topic alone. But anyways, Grace thinks the planet is effectively doomed and accidentally puts that fear in his students. So all of his students are quite pessimistic and scared for the future too. Project Hail Mary, though, is a long-shot project put together by the world's major governments in an attempt to fix the sun and solve the problem. Grace gets recruited to assist in the project and is able to spend a lot of time around other people who are full of bravery, courage, faith, and hope. And it starts to rub off on him. Because of them, he starts to learn these things and build faith too. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. Matthew 5:16. The most important thing that Grace develops throughout the movie from other people is selflessness. At the beginning of the movie, Grace is cowardly, weak, and selfish. He lives alone and doesn't have any close relationships or immediate family to speak of. He doesn't even really have a life worth preserving, and yet he selfishly wants to anyway. When given the choice to join the Project Hail Mary rocket ship as one of the astronauts, he selfishly refuses. They need him to save the world. Nobody else can do the job, and he still refuses because he knows that it's a one-way trip and that he'll die. So he'd rather the whole planet die just a few decades later than sacrifice himself now. Meanwhile, the other astronauts are all really cool people. They have families and lives, and even they are willing to lay down their lives to save the planet. For whoever desires to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. Matthew 16:25. That's what makes Grace's character arc so interesting. He goes from clinging to his life to later in the movie being willing to lay it down completely to save others. Again, I think what slowly caused this change was him being around others who were willing to do that. First, he gets to see his fellow astronauts who are all willing to sacrifice themselves for the mission. And then later he meets Rocky, who displays perfect love and selflessness. Not only is Rocky willing to sacrifice himself to save his own planet, but he's willing to sacrifice himself to save Grace. When Rocky goes to do that, Grace sees what perfect love looks like. Greater love has no one than this, than to lay down one's life for his friends. John 15:13. So Project Hail Mary may not be a Christian movie, but it undeniably echoes Christian themes of love, sacrifice, faith, and hope. If you like this video, please hit that like button and leave a comment letting me know what you think. Am I missing something? And what would you like to see us cover next? If you'd like to help us keep making content like this, exploring the deep, often overlooked Christian truth and popular entertainment, consider supporting us on Patreon for as little as $2 a month. Thanks for watching.